Another day, another opportunity to expose the TikTok lies that really like to populate my feed nowadays. So what I want to talk about today is the Gaijin seat. The Gaijin seat is, if you're wondering, the moment or the seat where you sit in a train in Japan and then Japanese people come in, they look at you and they decide not to sit next to you even though the seats are available, and they decide to like stay far away. Or if you sit next to a Japanese person, the Japanese person stands up and leaves. So that is called the Gaijin seat. The seat because there's no one next to you. No one wants to sit next to you as a foreigner. So here we go. Now, before I begin this, let me remind you, all of this, everything that I'm talking about in the series comes from personal experience and actually trying to understand why this kind of things happen. So, as some people may have negative experiences, I've had negative and positive experiences, and that's why I'm trying to talk about this, you know? So let's begin with number one thing. Are there no racists in Japan or xenophobics in Japan? Fuck yes, they exist. And let me break the bubble to you. They exist all over the fucking world. I am Mexican living in the United States. Just with that, you should understand and know that I've experienced my fair share of racist moments towards me, that people have been racist towards me. And I'm not just saying like white people, black people too, Indian people, African people, Chinese people. Like, I've had my fair share of moments with that. But it pales in comparison to the positive experiences that I've experienced with all of those groups of people as well. You know? Have I had encounters that are negative with people, but they were not because they were racist? Yes, 100%. So, to say that all Japan is racist and xenophobic just because of the Gaijin seat, it's stupid, it's retarded. Because you in your own country, you've decided not to sit next to people because they look a certain way and you're just like, no, that looks sketchy, I'm out, you know? So let's go back to Japan. Now, does the Gaijin seat exist? Yes, it does exist. But 1 out of 10 times that people decide not to sit next to you as a foreigner, it's because they are xenophobic or racist, like, period. But again, the other 90% are still deciding not to sit next to you. Why is that? You're probably wondering. Well, unlike a lot of fucking TikTokers and stupid ass like YouTubers that they just like to say, oh, Japanese are blah, 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 blah. I've really talked to people there, to natives. I've made the effort to learn a little bit of the language, enough to communicate as much as possible to figure out what the hell, you know? So here's the answer, short and simple. The Gaijin seat does exist, yes. Sometimes. Sometimes. I've even had it myself where people have decided to like stand up and leave. And people have decided not to sit next to me and just like stand up somewhere far away. But way more often than not, people sit next to me. Like elderly Japanese women, young Japanese men, you name it. Every single age and group, I've had them consciously decide to sit next to me, or for me to sit next to them, and they don't give a shit, which is like most of the time the type of experience that you're going to have, where they just don't give a shit about you, you know? But when those moments, when those Gaijin seat moments happen, like I said, only 10% of them are going to happen because they just don't like foreigners, 100%. But the other 90% are happening because of two reasons, and I've come to find out why. And I'm here to tell you that. Number one, it's because Japanese people are very introverted. Very introverted. They really do not like to socialize. At least not in places where you're not supposed to socialize. Like if you go to a bar, you're more than likely going to socialize with Japanese people, and they're going to be way more open to socialize with you than if you try it at a cafe or at the library or in the street, for example, let alone being the train. In the train, you're supposed to be quiet. Just shut the fuck up and let other people just take their normal route. But Japanese people, and again, this comes from asking people. What I'm about to say comes from asking Japanese people in Japan, not fucking random influencers that drink matcha latte as prop only, and they don't actually like it. So the reason is because they're very introverted, and they are under the impression that a lot of foreigners like to talk a lot. They really like to talk a lot, especially the ones coming from the West, especially Americans. That they are under the perception that Americans are very friendly, that are very open, and that they like to talk and make friends and just like, hey, what's up, my man? How's it going? They are under that impression. So whenever an American sit next to them, or they see that they can sit next to a foreigner that may look American or may look like the talkative type, they decide to leave because they don't want to talk to you, because they don't know the language, because they're very introverted, and they want to avoid as much as possible having a negative impression or conversation or experience with someone. So they're like, hey, this person might try to start a conversation with me. Let me avoid it because I can't communicate. A lot of people forget that most Japanese people don't speak any language other than Japanese. So to avoid problems, they decide to say, you know what, I'm just not going to take the seat next to them because I don't want them to strike a conversation with me and for me to not be ready, or to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot speak your language. So that's reason number one. And what is reason number two? Because you stink. That's why. So something that a lot of people kind of don't really talk about often is how Japanese people are very sensitive to smells. Very sensitive to smells. If you go into any random Japanese store, like the Don Quixotes, the 7-Elevens, the H-Marts, stuff like that, you're going to find that deodorants are very, very neutral. That colognes are very, very light. They're not potent because Japanese people don't really like strong smells. They really don't. As opposed to here in the West, we definitely like those colognes. I remember in Mexico, you bathe yourself with that shit because the stronger your smell is, oh, let me take another whiff of that. That you smell so good. Yeah, boy, you know? So here in the US as well, you know, the smells, the scents for people, for men and for women, tend to be way stronger than the ones in Japan. So because of their DNA, they are way more sensitive to smells. And therefore, whenever they have like an encounter with a foreigner that is sitting next to them on the train and they have that potent cologne smell, oh my God, they're like, excuse me. Even though for you might smell really well, for them you don't. You have a very strong odor. Like for example, one of the biggest advices that Japanese men that get girlfriends in Japan tell foreigners is do not wear a lot of cologne. They don't like that. Girls hate that strong smell. I'm not saying that all of them, but generally speaking, they're very sensitive to smells. So There you go. That is the reason behind the Gaijin seat. 10% is because there is actual xenophobia and racism. 90% is because, 45% is because they're very introverted, and the other 45 is because you stink to them. There you go. Welcome to my tech talk. All right, I'm out. Bye.